What's up, folks? I'm Dwayne, and this is Blackboard Gaming, where we teach you about all these great board games that are out there, waiting to be played by you and yours. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complication. Hey, everybody. So, in less than a week, the biggest board game convention in North America is going to be taking place, and that is GenCon 2025 over in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, we've had the pleasure of attending GenCon a few years ago, and we really enjoyed the experience. Meeting up with other content creators that we have come to know and become friends with, and checking out the new games that are coming out. And currently, there are 600 games that are being displayed at GenCon. Now, unfortunately, this year we won't be in attendance. We got a lot of stuff going on this side of the camera, so unfortunately, we're not going to be there, which I am sad about it. But today, I want to tell you about 15 games, and I'm going to split them up into groups of 5. The first 5 are going to be games that if we were going to GenCon, I would run into these different publishers and buy these games because these games are available for purchase. Then the next 5 are only for demo only. And I'm going to tell you those 5 games that I would definitely demo if we were going to GenCon. And then the last 5 are games that we have already played, that we have already experienced and enjoyed, and so they're going to be available at GenCon. So I'm going to tell you these 5 games that I think you should pick up if you're going to GenCon, So without wasting any time, let's get right to it. So just so you know, I got my list ready, just in case I have to reference it. But first, I'm going to tell you about the 5 games that I would run to these publishers' booths and grab those games, So the first game I'm going to talk about is from All Play. Now, it was hard to choose from All Play because All Play got some great games that I am interested in, but I only wanted to pick one. You might see another one somewhere else on this list, but the first one is a game called Vivo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is a trick-taking game where you have singing dogs. Now, I have no idea how this game plays, but I love trick-taking. I always try to introduce people to more trick-taking games, and it has singing dogs. So I'm on board right there. And so I'm definitely would go pick that one up. Now, the next one I will go pick up is from Alley Cat Games, and that game is called Timber Town. And this is a 2-player game where you take on the role of beaver architects who are building up their town, and you're drafting these tiles. It's a tile placement game. You're drafting tiles from like a flowing river in the middle of the table. So it gives me feels of River Valley Glassworks in a way. And so when you draft a tile, you have to put it in the same column in your town in order to score points. Now, I love games, that have, anamorphic creatures and everything. So I haven't seen one that has beavers. I've had bears and penguins and everything, but I haven't seen one with beavers. So I'm definitely would go check this out. And I think Alicia will play this game with me. Now, the next game is a game called Red Carpet. Now, this is from DeVere Games, and in Red Carpet, you take on the role of a paparazzi, and you're taking pictures. There's the red carpet premiere to a movie or a play or something like that, and you got these little standees that are all on the red carpet, and pretty much you're trying to get the best photograph, and you're actually using your phone in this game, so... we both love Picture Perfect, which is a game we've talked about before. We actually did a review on this channel. And Red Carpet just gives me that same vibe. I mean, when I saw it, I could already hear the runway music bouncing in my head. So I really would run and get that game. Check that one out. All right. So the next game will be from Arcane Wonders. And this is a game we actually took a look at when we went to Origins, about a couple months ago. And this is Cat and the Tower. And this is like a dexterity game where you're building up a tower using these wall pieces, but these walls are of different heights. So the whole theme of the game is this cat named Toto, whose mom has passed away. And he has got it in his head that if he builds a tower, he could go see his mom. And he got his cat friends to help him. So there's these little cat meeples in the game. And you place them on the tower. But like I said, some of the walls are on different heights. So you want to try to make sure the tower is balanced. And this is a cooperative game. So, and I think there are different scenarios that goes on, in the game. So I really like this one. And Vivo, I love some games that come from Japan and everything, and so I want to try these games out, so I would definitely go pick up Cat in the Tower. Now the last one is probably like, the first four are like kind of smaller games, but this one is more of a bigger game, not really big, and that game is called Spooktacular, and I think it's from Level 99 Games. And in Spooktacular, I love how they put this. So we are celebrating Halloween, and we are at the movie theater checking out the Spooky Film Festival during a lightning storm. And so lightning strikes the theater, and all of a sudden, all these movie monsters, these epic movie monsters, come to life out of the screens. And now they're going around terrifying all the folks in the theater. And you're taking on the role of one of these movie monsters. So you're looking at like the Blob or Dracula or something like that. And you're going around the theater terrifying people, maybe devouring them, and you're doing your own play style. So every movie monster plays different. And so I'm always looking for, a Halloween thing. Like, I don't get into hardcore Halloween, spook horror stuff, but I like spooky. So I think I would gravitate towards this game, and that's Spooktacular. Now, these next 5 games are not available for purchase. They're available for demo. And so these are 5 games that I would definitely demo if we were going to GenCon. So the very first one I'm going to talk about is a game called, I think it's called Sanibel. Let me make sure. Yep, Sanibel. And that is, the designer is Elizabeth Hargrave, who designed Wingspan and Mariposa and Undergrove. And in this game, you are walking along the beach and you're collecting seashells, And so we just came back from Fort Lauderdale. We go there every year just to hang out and chill. So we were hanging out on the beach and everything. So this one kind of like really hits for us, I really like those type of chill, cozy games, so I would definitely look forward to playing this one. Now, the next one is an expansion, and it's expansion to a game that was one of my favorite games of 2024. And I'm not a really big expansion person, but then there are some expansions that I just have to have. And so that is the expansion for SETI. I think it's called... well, I just put SETI expansion, but there's a name for it. But so SETI, in this expansion, one, they're going to introduce 3 new aliens that, lets you play different ways in order to win. They're also going to give asymmetric organizations. So everybody's going to have special powers on how they discover this alien life. And there's going to be new cards introduced and everything. And there's all going to be some kind of quick start mechanism, And also they're going to do something like, one of the biggest complaints that people had with SETI was when you're scanning, it's not enough of that going on in the game. So they're going to do something to fix that. So this expansion for SETI, like I said, SETI was my favorite game of 2024. So I am excited for this expansion. I would definitely want to check it out. Now, the next demo is a game, I think it's from the Op, and that is called Fountains. And where you are drafting fountain tiles to build up your own fountain. And you're filling up your fountain with lily pads and coins and fish and everything. And you want to make sure each section of your fountain has a way to get water. So you just don't want standing water in your fountain, because that fountain's not going to score points. So in order to score the points, you got to make sure that it's getting water from one of the jets. It could be from another fountain, or that tile could have a water jet on that specific tile. And so I think there's a rondelle. Yeah, there's a rondelle where you are moving around to gain these different tiles and put it into your fountain. And so I think Lisa will really like this. She loves tile placement games, and she loves games that really puts her into the theme, and build, at the end of the game, you have this really nice fountain that you done built up. So I definitely would love to try that game out. Now, the next one is a game called 12 Rivers. And this is from Good Games Publishing. And 12 Rivers is a worker placement game. You lead a tribe, and you're trying to gain these pearls that are represented by marbles. And you're trying to place your tribes in certain areas on this board. It represents the land of 12 rivers. And pretty much, I'm not sure how the game works, but I know that you're going to be gaining marbles, because we're going to release the marbles, and where they stop where you placed your player piece. You get that marble, put it in your play area or whatever. So I'm really want to try it. That's a game that really interests me. I always look for something that adds a unique take to worker placement or whatever. So that's 12 Rivers. And the last one is, we both love Cascadia. My wife is in her top 10 games of all time. And so they have Cascadia Alpine Lakes, which is going to add a 3D element to Cascadia. You're pretty much doing the same thing, but now you can place tiles on top of tiles. And then the animals, certain animals required to go on the certain tiles. And they have an elevation requirement. And so Cascadia Alpine Lakes, yeah, I definitely want to check that one out, Now I'm going to tell you about the 5 games that we have already had the pleasure of playing. And we think that, if you're in attendance to GenCon, you definitely should try to pick these games up. Now, the first game, like I said earlier, I talked about a game from All Play. And All Play has been putting out some bangers. Now, one of the games is a game I picked up at Origins. I was introduced to it maybe a couple weeks before Origins, and I really enjoyed it, and I decided to pick it up, and that game is called Ruins. And Ruins is designed by John D. Clare, and this is a card shedding game. So where you're going to get dealt a hand of cards, and whoever leads is going to play either a single card, or they're going to play a pair of cards with the same numerical value, or a trio of cards with the same numerical value, and so on. And so the next player has to play that same number of cards with the same numerical value or higher. Now, if let's say the player that led played a pair of 2s, next player plays a pair of 2s, then the next player will get skipped because the 2s match and everything. But if he played a pair of 3s, now the next player has to play a pair of cards with a higher numerical value. Now, the cool thing about it is this is also a card crafting game. So, like I said, John D. Clare, so that was his first thing is Mystic Veil. You're crafting cards. So each player is going to have 3 campfire tokens, and then there's going to be some upgrades in the middle of the table. And they cost either 1, 2, or 3 upgrade campfire tokens. So before you play, when it comes around to you, before you play, you have the option of buying one of those upgrades and adding it to the card that you're about to play. So let's say somebody played a pair of 3s. You have a 2. Let's say you have a 4 and then you have a 1. But you could buy an upgrade that might add 3 to that 1. So now you got a pair of 4s and you play that. There are other things that make you draw a card or make somebody else draw a card or something like that. or it might be a while, will make it where you could just make it any number. And so, like I said, you're trying to be the first to shed the cards out of your hand, and then you're going to score a certain number of points. And the game, I think, goes like 5 rounds. Now, this is a game, I love the art on this game. I love the puzzling aspect of this game. It gave me the same feeling when I was first introduced to Wind the Film, trying to figure out that puzzle and everything. So I really enjoyed this game. And if you're at GenCon, definitely check out Ruins. Now, the next game is a game that my wife and I just played on our vacation. And that is a game called Big Sur. And in Big Sur, you are drafting cards, and you're trying to build up a row of cards that represents the highway, the Big Sur. And so the cards are multi-use. So you're either going to play a card, but you have to spin other cards. They represent certain like stone or steel or wood. You know, these are resources you have to spend in order to play that card in front of you. And what you're trying to do is create stretches of terrain types. You know, you have to have 3 miles in of a terrain type in order for it to be a stretch to give you, you know, to let you score points at the end of the game. And so art is beautiful on these cards, and we really enjoyed it. We talked about this over on in our Wonderlust board games video, you know, and like I said, we enjoyed it. We played it a few times. Really like it. Alicia is definitely, she wants to teach this at our next board game meetup. So I'm looking forward to see how she does. Now, the next game I want to talk about is a game that we did a preview video for. And this is from Flat Out Games. Now, they have 3 games that's going to be available for purchase. And I only limit myself to 1, so I picked Knitting Circle. And Knitting Circle is the follow-up to Calico. And pretty much what you're doing in Knitting Circle, you are drafting these different pattern types from this rondelle, and then you're placing them in your area. You're trying to knit socks and mittens and scarves and long johns, you know. And you have to meet these pattern requirements on these certain items in order to score points. And they got these little cat meeples there roaming the rondelle to help you out. So yeah, Knitting Circle, we really enjoyed that one. We hated to send it back, but hey, it was a preview copy, so we had to. So the next one is a game that I checked out over at when I went to PAX 2024. And this is from Red Raven Games. Now, Above and Below is probably one of the first games that got me interested in Red Raven Games. You know, it's got me to checking them out. So now I've played Above and Below, Near and Far, Now or Never. You know, this one here, Creature Caravan, which was one of my favorite games from last year. And so they're releasing Above and Below Haunted, which is making it where now, there's another game like with once the Halloween season comes. This and Spooktacular, I would definitely look forward to playing both of these games. And so pretty much it's the same storytelling, same gathering resources, but sometimes when you build a building, it's haunted. So now you got this ghost roaming around, you know.
It's haunted by a ghost!
And sometimes it brings in more player interaction because there are ways to make the ghost go to another player, you know. And so I really like this game, you know, and I didn't back it. I wanted to, but hey, it was some other things going on. But if I definitely would love to get my hands on that game because I love Above and Below. So Above and Below Haunted would just give me some more stuff to enjoy, you know. Now, the last game that I think you should pick up, and I think it just recently became available, you know, and this is from Capstone Games. And that game is Tea Garden. Now, my wife, we just recently talked about that game in our mid-year board game tag. And Tea Garden, my wife really enjoys that game. In this game, we are tea farmers. And we are manipulating our teas. You know, we have fresh tea leaves. And then, I forgot what they call it. The brown tea leaves. Let's just say the brown tea leaves. and pretty much you're spending these tea leaves to going to visit the emperor, moving up the track or whatever. You're also like spending tea leaves to get cars because it's a deck building game. And you're building pagodas out into your field. Your pagodas, rather. And so we really, really enjoy that game. You know, like I said, this is one of 3 games released by the same designer. And I think Tea Garden is my wife's favorite, you know, for right now. She hasn't played Galileo Galilei yet. But yeah, if you definitely pick up Tea Garden, nice, cozy game. I think they're supposed to be doing an expansion for it too. So there you have it. 15 games. 5 games that I would run to pick up if we were in attendance at GenCon. 5 games that I would want to demo at GenCon. And 5 games that we have played that we think are worth you picking up, that you should definitely check out. So, in the comments below, let me know, are you going to GenCon and what games are you excited to pick up or check out, you know? And let me know, are there any games that you feel that, you know, me or Alicia would really, really like, you know, that you think that we should check out. And if you like the contents of this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Blue Sky. I'm Dwayne. This has been Blackboard Gaming, and I will see you next time.